Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are having a great start to your day and a great week so far. Going to give you an update, as we always do in this morning's video, on what could potentially unfold for today's weather. So there's not, anything significant to talk about this morning as far as what's going to happen for today. Not expecting a severe weather outbreak. But what's interesting is this ridge is starting to flatten out some. So some of the big time heat is starting to lessen somewhat for the northern part of the lower 48. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Talk about two different areas that could see a potential for some flooding today. And just talk about what's going to unfold. So if you guys have not subscribed, definitely consider that. Like the video if you like it. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about, please put in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. Hit me up on social media, Twitter, Facebook. Great follows. I know not everybody's big on Twitter, but Facebook's probably the more popular one. If you're not big on social media, that's cool too. But it's a great way to interact with me on there, especially when things are really popping off with hurricane season and winter weather. I really showed my true passion on social media there and like to have fun with everybody, so definitely hit me up there. But let's get rolling, because there's a few things to talk about, but nothing too crazy. Like I said, in general, we still got this ridge that is really built all the way up into Canada. But there is a very slow moving cold front that is kind of moving east or southeast in general. And this is helping to flatten out this ridge. So this ridge that's going all the way up into southeast Canada and then sharply moving south with a pretty sharp cutoff here, with still just troughing, just cold front, cooler weather in the northeast. Will generally flatten out. Therefore, it'll cool off up here in the north central U.S., the northern Midwest, if you will, the Great Lakes region, and all the heat will really be confined to the south and the southeast. It'll heat up across portions of the southeast today as the true heat generally moves a little bit more east. But we're going to have a nice flow over areas of the northeast today. Therefore, areas like New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire could certainly see some rain today, and you could actually see a lot of rain over the next 24 hours, as we're going to just have kind of training of moisture that's just going to be moving over the same areas in this portion of the country. You got the monsoon season kicking off, as basically the flow aloft continues to really pop off moisture down here in New Mexico. So we'll talk a little bit about that also. That has been an ongoing story over the last really 48 hours or so out there. But the Storm Prediction Center, a general chance of thunderstorms here in the deep south in these light greens, but once you start to get to the dark greens, that is a marginal risk for severe weather. That is a level 1 out of 5. So we watch out for a little bit of severe weather in this area of the country. Really weak forcing, just a cold front, like I said, that's flattening out this ridge. And you can actually see where the storm chances are today and actually get a good idea where the ridge is, and basically where the boundary is between the trough and the ridge. And here it is, going all the way up here and then all the way down here, and really just north of that boundary and along that boundary you have waves of moisture, waves of energy that promote severe weather, or just general showers and storms. So that's what you're going to see here. And so you just watch out for areas, even Chicago, Milwaukee, Green Bay, all the way to Marquette, Kansas City today, and all these areas in between. We'll talk about that in the beginning of the video. And then the excessive rainfall outlook and the marginal risk, that is at least a 5% chance to see flash flooding guidance met in these green areas today between now and tomorrow morning. Notice you got a little slither here in the northeast. We'll talk about why here in a second, but watch out for some heavier rain today. It might not all fall at once, but there might be a lot that falls in a very kind of a several hour period, if you will, over the next 24 hours. But you got a slight risk. That is at least a 15% risk of flash flooding guidance occurring in this region. You actually have flood watches up here, down here in the southwest U.S., really just in New Mexico, where flooding is possible to pretty much likely at this point in this region where you've already had a lot of rain. And in fact, we'll go on and switch over and look at this. The orange is the heat advisories, where you basically have a lot of low-level moisture. The dew points are higher all the way up into here, where you basically have the moisture setting up along this boundary between the ridge and the cold front, where you basically have these storms that have the possibility of popping up. Kind of what we had last week here in the south and southeast, when we had chances of storms but the humidity was brutal leading up to those chances of storms, and not everybody saw rain. Kind of the same deal up here. But the good news is this will kind of wash out over the next day as the ridge flattens out and more cooler air kind of settles in for this area. Not necessarily cool, but cooler air. Basically flood watches down here in New Mexico. So we watch out for flooding risk over here in New Mexico as the monsoon season, like I said, is kicking off. But New York State, there's no flood watches right now, but we watch out for a little bit of flooding. A little bit later this afternoon, we'll talk about that in this video. We're going to focus on the NAM with a severe weather threat today in areas of Kansas, points northeast. And here we go. We'll start this off by about early to mid this afternoon. And here you go. You just got some individual storms popping up. It's not a real widespread event. Like I said, weak forcing really here. There's not really anything kicking up this energy. It's just general flow with a trough moving through. There's just going to enhance enough lift for a little bit of thunderstorm activity, and of course with a nice flow aloft decently, and basically that moist sector building all the way up to this boundary. You're going to have the chance for some severe storms in Kansas today. This will continue into areas of Missouri, but in general in Kansas today. Watch out for some storms all through the afternoon, the evening hours, especially in central in Kansas and places like that. You move a little bit northeast and look at the North Midwest in general, the Northern Midwest, whatever you want to call it, the Northern Plains. I think the Northern Plains would definitely be considered a little bit further west across the Dakotas and Montana. So the Great Lakes region, the Midwest, and here we go. You're just going to have basically a line of storms, showers and storms, riding this boundary of where the trough is kind of sagging east or southeast in general. So along where the cold front is, you're going to have some storms, and some of these can be severe, damaging winds. Not really a big tornado threat with this, if any at all. Just a chance for damaging winds and maybe some hail with this threat here. Maybe some storms up here in northern Michigan, but really down here in Illinois, southern Wisconsin, areas of southeast Wisconsin, of Iowa, and northern Missouri. You're going to have some storms flying through. These will weaken quickly as you get into the evening hours, but watch out Chicago. Some storms can move into Chicago, but they quickly diminish when you lose that daytime heating, things like that you typically do as you get into the overnight hours. But I don't really think these are going to be a big deal today, guys. I really don't. But early on, there's going to be probably a 2 to 4 hour window of maybe some intense storms across this area of the country. So watch out for that for sure. You look at the southeast, not a whole lot going on. It's pretty quiet, some pop-up showers, some storms in Louisiana. But in general, not a whole lot going on. Even Florida is much more quiet today, with just a general risk of some storms the further south you go along the Gulf Coast. But in general, a pretty quiet day. It really is across the southeast with just big-time heat building. This is what's interesting up here in the northeast. Like I said, with that jet flying around the upper base of this ridge, it's going to quickly move south and right over the northeast. Therefore, you're going to have moisture riding around this boundary, and the way basically the jet just shoots from north to south, almost just exact north to south movement to it, orientation to it, or whatever you want to call it. You're going to have a lot of moisture shooting through New York State today. It's not going to always be heavy, but just a consistent flow of light to moderate rain. Some of these can be in the form of storms. Now, there is going to be a severe weather threat in this area of the country tomorrow. We'll talk about that probably tonight into tomorrow morning, but we'll watch for that, as there's already a slight risk for severe storms for tomorrow. But in general, we'll continue to watch this and just watch it. A continuous feed of moisture in areas of eastern New York State. Watch out Vermont also. But I really think New York State will be the area, and that's why you have that marginal risk for flash flooding of occurring in this region. And this goes all the way into New Jersey, into New York City. So a consistent flow of moisture. You notice you back this all the way up for about mid to late morning. You already have moisture kind of moving into this area this morning. This will continue to just move through areas of eastern New York State. And just the flow just keeps going, just training of moisture. So certain areas could pick up, I don't know, maybe an inch of rain today. And in fact, you look at between now and tomorrow morning, in this area, anywhere from a quarter inch to over an inch of rain is certainly possible. The Adirondacks are certainly going to see a lot of rain up here in northern areas of New York State, and then maybe a little bit of rain for areas of New Hampshire and Vermont. Western Mass and Connecticut today. I think some showers will move into Long Island and New York City probably a little bit later this morning into this afternoon for sure. But the north central U.S., we've kind of already talked about this region. Watch out for these storms down here. And then with this upper trough that's kind of then moved into Canada that promoted a lot of severe weather yesterday, might swing some showers into northern Minnesota. Other than that, pretty quiet. Areas of the south central U.S., the only area that's really an area to watch is this flooding risk in New Mexico, as basically another system pulls up and rises the base of this ridge and moves along this jet. Therefore, you got a lot of moisture, big time moisture feed into New Mexico that will promote a flash flooding risk. This area is still undergoing a drought, but it's been picking up a lot of rain over the last couple days for sure, making up for lost ground here. But a lot of moisture just continues to feed through today into the overnight hours, and will continue to have that moist flow into New Mexico, which is good news, but you don't want it all at one time. So this is rain expected between now and tomorrow morning per the National Weather Service. That's a lot of rain for New Mexico. It really is, anywhere from 1 to 2 inches in the middle part of the state. Certain areas of the southeast areas of the state might get kind of ripped off here, but we'll see if some of this moisture can sneak in this part of the country. This part of the state is what I meant, into western Texas, because this area is certainly under big time drought conditions right now. But a lot of beneficial rain. It's just you're probably going to get it a little bit too fast today. So we'll see how this develops. But temperatures, you can see exactly where the ridge is flexing all the way up into Canada, and then it quickly gets cut off here with nice weather in the northeast. If you're basically in areas from, eastern New York State, Vermont, you're probably going to get just more rain-cooled air today, where temperatures are going to be held down due to the consistent rains. But even up in Maine, when you're not really getting a lot of rain, nice day, 60s and 70s for highs. You're not going to be baking. But the further southwest you get and just west you get under the influence of this ridge. And I tell you what, the southeast, a lot of areas might nip 100 degrees a day. But the good news is for the extreme southeast that really experienced very high humidity yesterday, you're not going to really see a big time heat indexes today. And that's basically because you don't have a lot of high humidity. Dew point's only in the 40s and 50s still in certain areas. But when you get a little bit further west, the flow is definitely supportive of more of a moist flow. Therefore, you got a lot of low-level moisture. Therefore, the heat index will kind of be a factor probably a little bit further west and northwest today under the heat dome. But, upper 90s everywhere. You see these areas in the pink, that's well into the 90s with a couple 100-degree readings for sure. But like I said, you look at the dew points, and this is right in the middle of the day pretty much, in this afternoon with the hottest part of the day. Look at these dew points in the 50s, 40s. So it's going to get very hot in the southeast today, right? But there's not really going to be any humidity. You're just going to be very hot with likely 95 degrees with a heat index of maybe 96. That's an example. But the further west you get, northwest, you start to get some higher dew points into the 60s and 70s, and that is why you end up getting those heat advisories for those high heat indices that reach well over 100 degrees. So please be careful in that area. But still have a lot of kind of mixing of some low dew points and dry air in this area to the surface that's keeping us from this high humidity. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'll talk to y'all this evening. Have a great day, and God bless.